Audiobook Top, your new home for the finest selection of audiobooks available anywhere.
The soft glow of a Verona moon paints the scene, casting long, dramatic shadows across the Capulet orchard. The air still hums with the residual energy of the feast, but now, a different kind of magic, or perhaps madness, is stirring. Our storyteller, a voice as old as time, yet as fresh as a lover's sigh, begins. Narrator Kolensk a Verona, a city carved from stone and passion, where ancient grudges festered like old wounds, yet beauty bloomed with intoxicating speed, and in such a place, where life pulsed with an almost desperate intensity, love, when it struck, did so like a bolt from the heavens, blinding, instant, and utterly, dangerously compelling. We speak of Romeo and Juliet, two souls snatched from the dance floor, thrust into a collision course with destiny, their hearts aflame, their minds utterly consumed. The very air around them crackled with an unspoken vow, a promise whispered by fates both kind and cruel. They had but exchanged a handful of words, a shared gaze across a crowded room, a stolen kiss, and already, the world had shifted on its axis. The focus narrows on Juliet balcony, bathed in moonlight. She appears, a vision of youthful beauty, lost in thought. Below, Romeo emerges from the shadows, gazing up at her as if she were the moon itself. Romeo colon to himself. A fervent whisper she speaks, yet she says nothing. Her eye discourses. I will answer it. Oh, speak again, bright angel. Juliet Kolext unaware of him. Her voice a soft murmur, I me. Romeo Kolensk aside, she thinks not of me. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other word would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for that name which is no part of thee, take all myself. Ask Juliet Kolesk, what man art thou, that thus bescreened in night, so stumblest on my counsel? Ask Romeo Kolensk by a name I know, not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself, because it is an enemy to thee. Juliet Kolensk, my ears have not yet drunk 100 words of thy tongue's uttering, yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo and a Montague? Romeo Kolensk neither? Fair maid, if either thee dislike. Ask Juliet Kolensk, how camsaint thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb, and the place death, considering who thou art, if any of my kinsmen find thee here. Ask Romeo Kolensk, with love's light wings did I o'erperch these walls, for stony limits cannot hold love out. A breathless pause, the unspoken intensity between them thick in the night air. Juliet Kolensk, her voice trembling slightly, caught between fear and wonder, if they do see thee, they will murder thee. Romeo Kolensk alack, there lies more peril in thine eye than 20 of their swords. Look thou but sweet, and I am proof against their enmity. Juliet Kolensk, I would not for the world they saw thee here. Romeo Kolen, I have night's cloak to hide me from their sight. And but thou love me, let them find me here. My life were better ended by their hate than death prorogued, wanting of thy love. The words tumble out of him, a torrent of unbridled emotion, and Juliet, despite her youth, finds herself swept away by the sheer force of it. Juliet, Kolensk, thou no saint, the mask of night is on my face, else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheek for that which thou hast heard me speak tonight. Fain would I dwell on form, fain deny what I have spoke, but farewell compliment. Dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. Yet if thou swear saint, thou mayst prove false. At lovers' perjuries they say, Jove laughs. She is trying to be cautious, but her heart is already gone. Romeo, ever the romantic idealist, is quick to reassure. Romeo Kolensk lady, by yonder blessed moon I swear, that tips with silver all these fruit tree tops, Juliet Kolensk swear not by the moon, inconstant moon, that monthly changes in her circled orb, lest that thy love prove likewise variable. Romeo Kolensk, what shall I swear by? Do not swear at all, or, if thou wilt, swear by thy gracious self, which is the god of my idolatry, and I'll believe thee. Askrinth Romeo Kolensk, if my heart's dear love asterisk Juliet, Quensk well, do not swear. Although I joy in thee, I have no joy of this contract tonight. It is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden, too like the lightning, which doth cease to be ere one can say it lightens. Sweet, good night. This bud of love, by summer's ripening breath, may prove a beauteous flower when next we meet. Asterisk, even as she speaks these cautionary words, her longing belies them. The momentum of their shared passion is too great to be halted by reason. Romeo, seized by the urgency of his desire, presses further. Asterisk Romeo Kolaksk. Oh, wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied? Chesk Juliet Kolensk. What satisfaction canst thou have tonight? Whath Romeo Kolensk, th exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine. Shikst Juliet Kolensk, I gave thee mine before thou didst request it, and yet I would it were to give again. Asterisk, a nurse's voice calls from within the house, a jarring intrusion into their private world. The harsh reality of their forbidden love begins to assert itself. Asterisk, Juliet Kolensk, startled, I hear some noise within. Dear love, adieu. Anon, good nurse. Sweet Montague, be true. Stay but a little, I will come again. Asterisk, Juliet exits briefly, leaving Romeo in a whirlwind of intoxicating thoughts. She returns, even more hurried, more resolute. Asterisk Hask Juliet Kolask, 3 words, Dear Romeo, and good night indeed. If that thy bent of love be honorable, thy purpose marriage, send me word tomorrow, by one that I'll procure to come to thee, where and what time thou wilt perform the rite, and all my fortunes at thy foot I'll lay and follow thee my lord throughout the world. Asterisk, the words hang in the air, a breathtaking, shocking proposition delivered with the speed of a whispered prayer. Romeo, lost in the immediate ecstasy, doesn't hesitate. Asterisk Romeo Kolensk, my life were better ended by their hate than death prorogue, wanting of thy love. Oh, blessed, I am afeard being in night, all, this is but a dream, too flattering sweet to be substantial. Asterisk Juliet Kolesk, 1,000 times good night. Asterisk, she exits again finally. Romeo, still floating on a cloud, resolves to seek out Friar Laurence. Asterisk narrator Kolasks, and so, the die was cast. In a single, star-drenched night, 2 teenagers, barely acquainted, swore eternal devotion and more dangerously, pledged a secret marriage. Their hearts, alight with a love so fierce it bordered on madness, saw no obstacles, only boundless possibilities. But the world, alas, was not made of starlight and lovers' vows alone. Asterisk, the scene shifts to Friar Laurence's cell, bathed in the early morning light. The friar is tending his herbs, musing aloud about nature and mankind. Asterisk Friar Laurence, Kolenstik the gray-eyed morn smiles on the frowning night, checking the eastern clouds with streaks of light. Oh, mickle is the powerful grace that lies in herbs, trees, stones, and their true qualities, for naught so vile that on the earth doth live, but to the earth some special good doth give. Asterisk Romeo bursts in, disheveled, beaming, a stark contrast to the friar's measured calm. Asterisk Romeo Kolnisk, good morrow. Father? Shucks Friar Laurence, Kolancht benedicite. What early tongue so soon saluteth me? Young son, it argues a distempered head, so soon to bid good morrow to thy bed. Art thou uprist with love? Or if not so, then art thou uprist with something else? Ashik Romeo Kolinsk, both. Father, both. My heart's dear love is set on the fair daughter of rich Capulet. Friar Laurence Kolinsk, Holy Saint Francis. What a change is here! Is Rosaline, whom thou didst love so dear, so soon forsaken? Young men's love then lies not truly in their hearts, but in their eyes. Ashtix Romeo, Colenst thou chid Saint me oft for loving Rosaline. Stesk Friar Laurence Kolastk for doting, not for loving, pupil mine. And art thou changed? Sheksk Romeo Kolnisk, I pray thee, chide not. Her I love now doth grace for grace and love for love allow. The other did not so. Shekt Friar Laurence Kolnists, oh. She knew well thy love did read by rote, that could not spell. But come, young Wavra, come, go with me, in one respect I'll thy assistant be, for this alliance may so happy prove, to turn your household's rancor to pure love. Asterisk the friar, seeing an opportunity for peace, makes his fateful decision, a decision born of hope, but perhaps also an echo of the lover's own impulsiveness. Asterisk narrator Kolenchk, and there it was. The hook. The moment when fate, fueled by the intoxicating speed of young love and the well-meaning, but ill-advised intervention of an elder, snagged them fast. A secret wedding, a hopeful pact to end an ancient feud, all built on the shaky foundation of a love barely a few hours old. The stage was set, not just for romance, but for the perilous, profound cost of such impulsive adoration. The price of their rushed vows. A secrecy that would twist and turn, drawing others into its dangerous web, and ultimately, demand a payment far greater than any of them could possibly imagine. The sweetness of their stolen moments would soon be overshadowed by the bitter taste of their family's hatred, a hatred they had momentarily forgotten, but which lay waiting, like a coiled serpent, ready to strike at the first sign of their audacious happiness. Their love, like a meteor, burned bright and fast, oblivious to the gravity that would inevitably pull it down. And the world held its breath. Asterisk the early morning light brightens, but a subtle, ominous shadow seems to creep across Verona. Forget the moonlight. Forget the whispered vows beneath the star-dusted canopy. For a moment, let us push past the intoxicating perfume of young love and peer into the shadows that stretched long and cold even as Romeo first scaled Capulet's garden wall. We stand now, not as awestruck spectators of romance, but as forensic investigators at the scene of an ancient, yet perpetually fresh, crime. This isn't about the pretty lies love tells itself, it's about the brutal truths love cannot outrun. This is our introduction, our first incision, into the heart of a tragedy that transcends centuries, a modern autopsy of Romeo and Juliet *. We begin, not at the lover's first glance, but with the festering wound that predates them both the feud. It's not a subplot, dear reader, but the very air they breathe, a toxic atmosphere that permeates every street corner, every social gathering, every private thought. Imagine living in a city where your surname is a curse, where an accidental brush of shoulders can ignite a blaze of generational hatred. This isn't a quaint historical detail, it's a blueprint for the divisions that still tear at the fabric of our own societies, albeit with different banners and battle cries. We see it in polarized politics, in social media skirmishes, in the simmering resentment that turns neighbors into enemies. Shakespeare didn't invent this human affliction, he simply held a mirror to its most destructive form. Our first task in this autopsy is to examine the precipitating factors, the sudden, violent twists that accelerate the lover's trajectory towards doom. The iconic balcony scene, charming as it is merely a brief, beautiful delusion. The reality crashes in quickly, violently, with the death of Mercutio, a spirited, sharp-tongued soul whose cynicism about love masks a fierce loyalty. His "a plague o' both your houses" is no mere curse, it's a diagnosis, a chillingly accurate prognosis for the disease that infects Verona. And then, Tybalt, the fiery agent of chaos, is slain by Romeo, whose brief escape into marital bliss is brutally shattered by an act of impulsive vengeance. Here we see the immediate consequences of youthful impetuosity colliding with ingrained tribalism. How many modern conflicts, big and small, ignite from similar sparks of perceived insult, a moment of rash anger, a choice fueled by group loyalty over individual reason. But the external forces are only part of the story. Our scalpel must go deeper, into the internal organs of this tragic narrative. Consider the communication breakdown, a central nervous system failure that proves utterly fatal. Friar Laurence, well-intentioned but disastrously optimistic, crafts a plan so intricate, so reliant on perfect timing and flawless messengers, it's practically designed for failure. The critical letter, meant to inform Romeo of Juliet's feigned death, never reaches him. In an age of instant communication, this might seem archaic. Yet, haven't we all experienced the devastating consequences of miscommunication, the unread message, the misinterpreted tone, the assumptions that lead to irreparable damage? The tragedy of Romeo and Juliet isn't just about a missed scroll, it's about the fragility of understanding, the ease with which truth can be distorted or lost in transit, whether through a sleepy messenger or the echo chamber of a Twitter feed. Then there's the role of the adults, not as benign figures of wisdom, but as unwitting architects of destruction. Friar Laurence, a man of God, dares to tamper with life and death, driven by a desire to mend the feud. Lord and Lady Capulet, blinded by their social ambitions and their daughter's perceived disobedience, pressure Juliet into a marriage with Paris, oblivious to her secret union and her burgeoning despair. These are not cartoon villains, but flawed humans, each making choices they believe are justified, each contributing a fatal stitch to the shroud that will eventually cover the young lovers. How often do we, in our own lives, see adults whose well-meaning intentions, stubborn traditions, or self-interest inadvertently guide the young towards sorrow? The generational divide, the inability to truly listen to and comprehend the struggles of the next generation, is as potent a force today as it was in Verona. Finally, we must consider the raw, visceral impulsivity of youth itself. Romeo's swift shift from Rosaline to Juliet, his immediate proposal of marriage, his desperate flight and return, Juliet's unwavering devotion, her courage, and her ultimate act of defiance. Their love is intense, yes, but also undeniably rash. They throw themselves into love and death with a fervor that only the young can possess, untempered by experience, unburdened by consequence. Is this simply the nature of adolescence, a whirlwind of emotion and unexamined desire? Or is it a testament to the suffocating environment in which they exist, where the only escape from a predetermined life of hatred and expectation is a desperate leap into the unknown, even if it leads to oblivion? As we close this introductory chapter of our autopsy, the air still thick with the lingering scent of despair and possibility. Remember, this Romeo and Juliet is not merely a pretty romance that ends sadly. It is a profound exploration of human failing, the corrosive nature of hatred, the tragic cost of communication breakdown, the dangerous folly of impulsive decisions, and the sometimes fatal blindness of those in power. Stepping beyond the balcony means peering into the societal diseases and personal frailties that conspired to snuff out two young lives. It means understanding that while the star-crossed lovers may have been unlucky, their demise was meticulously engineered, not by fate alone, but by a chillingly human combination of choices, circumstances, and entrenched animosity that continues to haunt our world today. And in that understanding lies the true, enduring power of this timeless tragedy. Verona, a city steeped in ancient stone and modern glass, where history breathes alongside high-speed internet. Its old bones hum with new energy, but some things remain etched in the very air, as unyielding as the cobblestones beneath sleek designer trainers. The Montague and Capulet names, once swords on the street, are now empires warring in boardrooms, social media feeds, and the exclusive circles of Verona's elite. Their feud, a digital scar tissue, runs deep. And in this buzzing, beautiful cage, we find young Romeo Montague, not pining in a sycamore grove, but slumped on a plush sofa, the blue light of his smartphone painting a melancholic glow across his face. He is adrift, a poet in an age of emojis, deeply, hopelessly infatuated with Rosaline, not a maiden he met by chance, but a flawlessly curated persona, an influencer whose digital perfection taunts him from a screen. Her likes are distant stars, her replies non-existent. He scrolls, he sighs, he double-taps old photos, mistaking digital adoration for actual connection. The world outside, vibrant and real, is muted by the filter of his unrequited love. Still lost in the feed, old friend. Benvolio's voice cuts through the digital haze, his presence a gust of fresh air. He's the pragmatist, the one who grounds Romeo. There are other profiles out there, you know. Swiping left on that heartache is a choice. He nudges Romeo, pulling up a sleek, encrypted invitation on his own device. The Capulet's annual gala tonight. Word is, it's going to be epic. Every who's who will be there. A prime opportunity to, shall we say, expand your network. Or at least, forget your woes in a sea of new faces. Romeo barely registers the Capulet name. The thought of crashing their sworn enemy's event, a move that would once have led to bloodshed, now seems almost quaint in its recklessness. In this age of digital anonymity and curated appearances, blending in is a skill. What's the point, Benvolio? All faces blur into one. All connections are superficial. Precisely why we go, Benvolio grins, a mischievous glint in his eye, to prove you wrong. Or at least, to get you off that screen and into the real world. Think of it as a spontaneous real-life swipe-right event. And so, driven by a reluctant hope for distraction rather than desire, Romeo finds himself navigating the velvet ropes and flashing cameras of the Capulet mansion. It's a modern masterpiece, all glass and polished chrome, yet ancient tapestries still adorn its walls, a testament to the family's enduring legacy and wealth. The air crackles with electricity, the hum of whispered conversations, the clinking of crystal, the carefully orchestrated beats of a DJ spinning tracks that reverberate through the very foundations. This is the tinder of Verona in its grandest, most perilous form, a real-world algorithm of connections, where status and beauty are the ultimate filters. Romeo, in an expensive suit that feels like a costume, feels the weight of the crowd, the performative air. He scans the faces, a sea of perfectly made-up smiles and calculated glances, each person seemingly searching for their match, their next advantageous connection. But none truly register. His heart, still heavy with Rosaline's digital ghost, remains unresponsive. Then the world shifts, not with a notification ping, not with a profile appearing on a screen, but with the sudden, raw immediacy of sight. Across the crowded room, beneath the glitterball's refracting light, she stands. Juliet. She's not posing for a camera, not scrolling on her phone. She's caught in a moment, perhaps laughing at something a friend said, her head tilted, a strand of dark hair escaping her meticulously arranged coiffure. Her dress, a simple but elegant design, seems to radiate light. Her eyes, when they briefly meet his across the pulsating chaos, are not just beautiful, they are alive, luminous, holding a universe of unspoken stories. It wasn't a swipe. It was a collision, a seismic jolt that reset every sensor in his body, every melancholy filter in his mind. Asterisk did my heart love till now asterisk the ancient words echo in his very soul, a revelation that dwarfs the superficiality of 1,000 curated profiles. He feels an irresistible pull, a magnetism that defies logic, propriety, and the very air of animosity between their families. He moves towards her, drawn as if by an invisible thread. The world around them blurs, the music softens to a distant hum. Their eyes lock again as he approaches, a silent, profound conversation passing between them. He extends a hand, not to swipe, but to touch. If I profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine, he begins, his voice surprisingly steady amidst the internal earthquake. The gentle sin is this my lips, two blushing pilgrims, ready stand to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss. Juliet, her gaze unwavering, a flicker of something electric passing between them, responds with an unexpected grace that mirrors his own sudden poetic intensity. Good pilgrim, you do wrong your hand too much, which mannerly devotion shows in this. For saints have hands that pilgrims' hands do touch, and palm to palm is holy palmer's kiss. Their words are a dance, a sonnet woven spontaneously, utterly disconnected from the rapid fire, often vacuous exchanges of their modern world. Their connection is instant, profound, and terrifyingly real. It bypasses all filters, all algorithms, all familial animosities, striking at the very core of who they are. Their hands meet, and a spark ignites. Their eyes search each other's, finding not just beauty, but a recognition of something deeper, something faded. And then his lips find hers. It is not a casual, app-initiated encounter, but a kiss that seals a destiny, a desperate, undeniable act of connection in a world designed for curated detachment. The universe holds its breath. The spell shatters with a gruff voice, slicing through the music and their shared bubble. His name is Montague. A sworn enemy, Juliet, you know better. Tybalt, always Tybalt, a looming storm cloud in human form, his eyes burning with the ancient fire of the feud. Romeo's blood runs cold. The name, Montague, the sweet poison seeps in. And then, from a servant, the confirmation to Juliet, your mother is the lady of the house, and a good lady, and a wise and virtuous. I know her daughter, she is Juliet. The revelation strikes her like a physical blow. My only love sprung from my only hate. Juliet whispers, the joy of the kiss curdling into a bitter, terrifying realization. The question hangs in the air, heavier than any ancient curse asterisk love at first swipe asterisk no. This was no casual swipe. This was a plunge into the abyss, a connection forged in a moment, utterly defying the digital filters and familial boundaries. The stage is set, the lines drawn, and the very concept of love at first sight, or swipe, has just been redefined, irrevocably, fatally. The sun, that selfsame morning, had barely begun its ascent when the cobblestones of Verona's busiest square had already witnessed a bloodless, yet no less vicious, street brawl. The air, still thick with the dust of raised swords and hurled insults, now hung heavy with the prince's stern decree, a final unequivocal warning that pierced through the very heart of the city's ancient hatreds. But decrees, however absolute, rarely mend the deep-seated fissures of generations-old animosity. They merely drive the hatred indoors, into the very hearths of the warring families, where it could fester and multiply in the echo chamber of their own making. Within the opulent, yet tension-riddled, walls of the Capulet Palazzo, the aftermath was a volatile cocktail of indignation and unquenched rage. Tybalt, a tempest in human form, paced the marbled floors of a private antechamber, his hand instinctively gripping the hilt of his rapier, a phantom itch for a duel that had been denied. The very mention of Montague blood was enough to send a flush of crimson across his high cheekbones, his eyes narrowing with a predatory glint. Cowards. He'd hiss to anyone who would listen, and many did, to flee like startled pigeons at the mere sight of our blades. His aunt, Lady Capulet, ever the picture of refined indignation, sat stiffly on a velvet settee, her fan fluttering with an agitated rhythm that mirrored the frantic beating of her heart. She wasn't one for street brawls, but her disdain for the Montagues was a finely honed art form, passed down through generations of whispered slights and recounted grievances. "The prince's words are binding, Tybalt," she'd said, her voice laced with a thin veneer of civility that barely concealed the venom underneath, "but that does not erase the insult. It merely postpones the reckoning." Her words, meant to caution, inadvertently fanned the flames of Tybalt's righteous fury. They were the subtle yet potent fuel of the echo chamber, validating his aggression while appearing to restrain it. Lord Capulet himself, usually a booming force of nature, wore a troubled frown. Not that he was above a good old-fashioned Montague baiting. Indeed, his own youth had been punctuated by such encounters. But the prince's decree was a tangible threat, one that touched his purse and his reputation. "Keep your temper, nephew," he'd advised, though the advice was delivered with a look that communicated more understanding than disapproval. "There will be other days. For now, we honor the prince on the surface." This unspoken clause was the very essence of the family feud, a public show of decorum masking a private, fervent dedication to enmity. The nurse, ever present, clucked her disapproval of the Montagues, recalling some distant, trivial slight involving a stolen handkerchief or a misinterpreted glance. Each anecdote, however minor, added another brick to the towering wall of prejudice that defined their world. Meanwhile, across the city, in the slightly less ostentatious, but equally grand, Montague residence, a similar, though perhaps more muted, drama unfolded. Lord and Lady Montague worried over their son, Romeo, who had been spotted at dawn, deep in a melancholic reverie, shunning the company of his kinsmen. Their immediate thought, of course, was the Capulets. Had some fresh insult been delivered? Had some youthful skirmish left its mark on their sensitive boy? Benvolio, Romeo's peace-loving cousin, tried to offer reassurance, recounting his own role in trying to halt the morning's fray. Yet, even his earnest efforts were colored by the ingrained bias. They were quick to draw. "My lord," he'd reported, referring to the Capulets, though he omitted his own kin's eager participation. It was a narrative of self-preservation, crafted not out of malice, but out of an unconscious loyalty to his name. But it was Mercutio, Romeo's irreverent friend, whose presence truly illuminated the corrosive nature of peer pressure in this city of divided loyalties. Though not a Montague by name, Mercutio was a Montague by allegiance, bound by friendship and a shared disdain for their rivals. His wit, sharp as any rapier, often sliced through the veneer of societal politeness, revealing the crude prejudices beneath. Love. He'd scoffed later, when Benvolio spoke of Romeo's lovelorn state. "It's but a fancy, a fleeting madness. Better to hate with purpose than love with such aimless passion." His cynicism was not just a personal philosophy, it was a cultural product, a protective shell against the inherent dangers of a world where one's identity was intrinsically tied to one's enemies. To be a Montague meant to despise a Capulet, and Mercutio, by his very scorn, reinforced this expectation, pushing Romeo, subtly but surely, towards conforming to the expected role of a feuding young man. Every conversation in Verona, it seemed, was filtered through the lens of this ancient grudge. From the grand pronouncements of the patriarchs to the gossiping whispers of servants, from the boasts of young men spoiling for a fight to the worried sighs of their mothers. The feud was the constant, echoing backdrop. It was a self-sustaining cycle, where each side interpreted every action of the other as an affront, where past wrongs were perpetually recycled and amplified, drowning out any faint whispers of reason or peace. The young, particularly, were caught in this inescapable web, pressured not just by direct commands, but by the very air they breathed, by the collective memory and expectation of their families and friends. They were heirs to a hatred they didn't forge, but were compelled to carry, a heavy burden that warped their perspectives and shaped their destinies long before they ever knew what true love or true enmity might entail. And so, the stage was set, not just by fate, but by the relentless, all-consuming pressure of an echo chamber built of hate. Ah, the fragile thread of understanding, so easily frayed, so swiftly snapped when grief and haste conspire against clarity. Our tale, already shadowed by forbidden love, now plunges into an abyss born of words twisted, heard awry, and left unsaid. This, dear friends, is where fate becomes a raging torrent. As twilight descended, monstrous whispers of tragedy rippled through Verona. For Juliet, alone in her chamber, the world tilted. The nurse, breathless and distraught, burst in. He's dead! He's dead! Oh, woe the day!" she cried, wringing hands. Juliet's heart hammered. What news? Is Romeo dead? She envisioned her beloved Feld. No, not Romeo, not yet! But Tybalt slain and Romeo banished! The words tumbled out a jumbled mess. The nurse, in her frantic eagerness, painted Romeo as both villain and victim, a banished murderer, all in one breath. Juliet, caught in this whirlpool of half-formed sentences, struggled to reconcile her gentle lover with the killer of her kinsman. "Oh, serpent heart, hid with a flowering face!" she cried, loyalty torn. The nurse, instead of clarity, offered only vivid descriptions, cementing a distorted image. Juliet's world was now divided by an impossible chasm of conflicting truths, a brutal initiation into her secret marriage harsh realities. Meanwhile, in Friar Laurence's cell, Romeo wrestled with his own demons. Banishment struck him harder than any blade, a living death away from Verona, from Juliet. He lay prostrate, lost in self-pity, deaf to the friar's calm, measured words. "Thou canst not speak of that thou dost not feel," Romeo railed, dismissing reason. He saw banishment as a curse, sealing his fate away from all he held dear. The friar spoke of philosophy, but Romeo heard only the clang of his own despair. Into this scene, the nurse arrived, breathless, bearing Juliet's ring and mournful tidings. "She weeps and weeps," she reported. Her words, meant to convey Juliet's sorrow for Romeo, only amplified his guilt and self-loathing. He saw Juliet's tears as accusation. He drew his sword, ready to end it all. The friar, exasperated but resolute, snatched the weapon. "Art thou a man?" he chided, laying out a plan: visit Juliet, then flee to Mantua, await a pardon. But as the friar spoke, Romeo's mind, still submerged in wretchedness, barely grasped the lifeline. The gravity of instructions dissipated in the fog of his emotional turmoil. Thus, two lovers, separated by more than distance, each grappled with fragmented truths while the stage was set for another devastating misjudgment. Up at the Capulet mansion, the atmosphere, though somber for Tybalt, was ripe for decisive action. Lord Capulet, impulsive, felt urgency to lift his daughter's spirits. He misread Juliet's profound sorrow as mere grief for her cousin, a grief a grand announcement could remedy. "I tell thee what, get thee to church o' Thursday," he declared to Lady Capulet and Paris, his voice booming, "for there she shall be married to this noble earl." The decision, made in haste and without a thought for Juliet's actual feelings, was announced as a fait accompli. It was paternal certainty, born from a desire to control, yet utterly blind to his daughter's true heart. Lady Capulet was dispatched to deliver this life-altering news. Imagine the dawn as Romeo took his desperate leave from Juliet's window. Their farewells, steeped in a love already strained, were a testament to their fleeting joy. He vanished, and she was left alone, a profound sense of foreboding settling in her soul. No sooner had Romeo's shadow dissolved than Lady Capulet entered, her demeanor stiff, her words sharper. "Early rising are we, daughter?" she began, then, with chilling lack of warmth, delivered the decree: "Thou shalt be married to the noble County Paris, at St. Peter's Church, this coming Thursday." The words hung in the air, a death knell. Juliet stared, aghast. "I will not marry yet, and when I do, I swear it shall be Romeo, whom you know I hate, rather than Paris." Her desperate defiance, born of loyalty to her secret husband, was instantly misconstrued as petulance. Lady Capulet, blinded by expectations, saw only ingratitude. The subsequent arrival of Lord Capulet, already agitated, sealed Juliet's fate. His bellowing voice filled the chamber, his rage fueled by perceived disrespect. "Hang thee, young baggage, disobedient wretch!" he roared, threatening to disown her. His every word was a hammer blow born of a patriarch's conviction in his own rightness and inability to comprehend challenge. He saw no tears of love, only a willful daughter defying his benevolent plans. Juliet, reduced to pleas, found no solace. Her mother washed her hands of her. Even the nurse, her confidante, offered pragmatic, yet heartbreaking, advice: "I think it best you marry with the county." The nurse, witnessing Capulet's rage, believed it was the only way, sacrificing Juliet's love for safety, misunderstanding the very essence of her devotion, failing to grasp the depth of her vows. Alone, abandoned, Juliet's final refuge was the friar. The threads of understanding, so tenuous, had snapped. The cascade of miscommunication had begun, each misunderstanding piling upon the last, driving our star-crossed lovers inexorably towards their tragic destiny. A symphony of errors played out in the heart of Verona. Ah, dear reader, settle in, for we arrive now at a truth as uncomfortable as it is undeniable. We've spoken of star-crossed lovers, of ancient grudges, of youthful passion burning too brightly. But what if I told you that amongst the many architects of this sorrowful tale, some of the most culpable wore the mantle of wisdom, of experience, of guidance Chapter 4, my friends, delves into the heart of this betrayal, the mentors who failed, the flawed adult hands that, however well-intentioned, pushed Romeo and Juliet ever closer to their tragic precipice. Consider, if you will, the venerable Friar Laurence. A man of God, a botanist with a deep understanding of nature's delicate balance, and crucially, a trusted confessor to both families. He sees the feud, he laments its destructive power. So, when Romeo bursts into his cell, love-struck and desperate for a swift marriage, the friar sees not merely a boy's infatuation, but an opportunity. An audacious, dangerous, yet perhaps divine opportunity to mend the rift between Verona's warring houses. For this alliance may so happy prove, he muses, to turn your household's rancor to pure love. Noble thoughts indeed. But herein lies the first, fatal flaw: a well-meaning man, so eager for a grand solution, that he bypasses all practical, ethical, and communicative steps. He orchestrates a secret marriage, a hasty bond forged in shadow, rather than bringing the families together, appealing to the prince, or even gently counseling Romeo on the impetuous nature of his affections. He acts as a deus ex machina, but one whose machinery is rickety, built on secrecy and desperation, not open dialogue. His grand plan, born of hope, quickly devolves into a series of increasingly elaborate, reckless schemes, each one a desperate patch over a festering wound, culminating in the terrifying, solitary gamble of the sleeping potion. And when that gamble inevitably fails, when Juliet awakens to a dead Romeo, where is the friar? He flees, leaving a terrified, abandoned girl in a tomb of horrors. A mentor, yes, but one whose well-meaning intentions paved a road straight to ruin. Then there is the nurse, Juliet's beloved confidante, her earthly anchor. For all her body humor and genuine affection, the nurse is fundamentally a pragmatic woman of the world, whose counsel is shaped by immediate comfort and social expediency, not by the soaring, spiritual love Juliet experiences. She facilitates the secret meetings, carries the messages, and even aids in the clandestine marriage. For a time she is Juliet's staunchest ally, reveling in the romance. But when the tide turns, when Romeo is banished and Paris offers a safe, socially advantageous match, the nurse's counsel shifts drastically. I think it best you married with the county, she advises with appalling casualness. Romeo's a dishclout to him, a dishclout, to the man Juliet risked everything for, the man she vowed her eternal soul to. The nurse's loyalty proves skin deep, her understanding of Juliet's heart tragically shallow. She abandons Juliet in her deepest hour of need, reducing her profound love to a fleeting fancy, pushing her toward an expedient, loveless marriage, and thereby severing the last thread of honest adult support Juliet possessed. And what of the parents? Lord and Lady Capulet, blinded by their own pride, their social aspirations, and their archaic understanding of familial duty. Initially, Lord Capulet seems almost progressive, telling Paris to woo her, gentle Paris, get her heart before considering marriage. But when Juliet refuses Paris after Tybalt's death, a death for which she is grieving, though her parents misunderstand the true cause of her sorrow, Lord Capulet's veneer of reasonableness shatters. He unleashes a torrent of rage, threatening disinheritance, violence, and public shaming. Hang thee, young baggage, disobedient wretch, he bellows. Lady Capulet, equally cold and unyielding, offers no solace, echoing her husband's cruelty, talk not to me, for I'll not speak a word. Do as thou wilt, for I have done with thee. There is no attempt to understand, to listen, to connect with their daughter. Their guidance is not flawed, it is absent, replaced by tyrannical demands and a crushing lack of empathy. They are so consumed by the ancient feud, by their own social standing, and by what they believe is best, that they fail entirely to see, truly see, the daughter standing before them. They rush her towards a forced marriage, convinced it will cure her supposed melancholia, sealing her doom with every ignorant, well-meant in their distorted view pronouncement. Even the mighty Prince Aeschylus, the ultimate arbiter of Verona's peace, falters. His repeated threats against the feuding families, while stern, prove ultimately ineffective. He banishes Romeo, a judgment intended to be merciful, but which inadvertently rips the lovers apart, setting in motion the chain of events that leads to the final fatal misunderstandings. He stands above the fray, yet fails to truly stamp out the embers of hatred that ignite the final tragedy. His authority is too little too late, or perhaps too narrowly applied. So, you see, it wasn't just fate, or simply the lover's impetuous youth, that led to the tragic end. It was also the failure of those who should have known better, those who should have offered wisdom, protection, and true guidance. The flawed adults, entangled in their own good intentions, their own fears, their own pride, or their own misinterpretations, chipped away at every possible avenue of escape, leaving Romeo and Juliet isolated, desperate, and ultimately alone. Their mentors in their failure became unwitting accomplices to their doom. And in that, dear reader, lies a lesson for us all, timeless and profoundly heartbreaking. The air in Friar Laurence's cell was thick with a despair so profound it seemed to cling to the very stone walls, muffling the distant sounds of Verona. Romeo, exiled, lay prostrate, a broken statue of grief. The news of his banishment, a sentence worse than 1,000 deaths in his lovesick mind, had stripped him of all reason. He railed against fate, against the very heavens, his voice hoarse, raw, and tinged with a self-pity that bordered on the theatrical, yet was undeniably heartfelt. "Banishment," he cried, his fist thumping the cold floor. "Say death rather? For what is life without Juliet? To be exiled from her sight is to be exiled from the world itself, a living corpse walking amongst men." Friar Laurence, ever the patient anchor, tried to reason with him, to paint banishment as a mercy compared to death. But Romeo, caught in the throes of his youthful anguish, could only see the gaping chasm between him and his love. The old man, witnessing such unrestrained passion and folly, felt a prickle of unease. He had sought to mend a rift, but instead, it seemed he had unwittingly forged an even deeper, more perilous fissure. He spoke of plans, of hope, of reaching out to the prince, but his words felt hollow, like pebbles dropped into an abyss, barely making a ripple. The love, so pure in its inception, was now tangled in a web of violence and despair, stretching thin to breaking point. As Romeo was spirited away, a shadow of his former self, into the pre-dawn light, the scene shifted not in location, but in the echoing chambers of our hearts to Juliet. Her chamber, usually a sanctuary of girlish dreams, now felt like a gilded cage. The morning light, which should have brought solace, merely illuminated the fresh tears on her cheeks. Her Romeo was gone, taken by the same cruel twist of fate that had claimed Tybalt. Grief warred with devotion, and devotion, for her husband, held sway, a secret fire burning beneath layers of public mourning. The nurse, her face a map of confused loyalty and genuine affection, brought news that turned Juliet's world on its axis once more. Lady Capulet entered, not with comfort, but with a chilling decree, a casual cruelty born of societal expectation and a mother's well-meaning, yet misguided, desire for her daughter's advantage. "Daughter, early next Thursday morn, the gallant, young, and noble gentleman, the Count Paris, at St. Peter's Church, shall happily make thee there a joyful bride." The words landed like stones, each one bruising Juliet's soul. Marriage to Paris, it was an absurdity, a cruel jest. Her heart, mind, and very being belonged to Romeo. She was already a wife, bound by sacred vows, a truth she could not utter, yet could not deny. The shock gave way to an icy dread, then to a fierce defiance. "He shall not make me there a joyful bride!" she declared, her voice trembling but resolute. "I pray you, tell my lord and father, I will not marry yet, and when I do, I swear, it shall be Romeo, whom you know I hate, rather than Paris." Lady Capulet, scandalized, rushed to fetch Lord Capulet, whose entrance was heralded by a storm of paternal fury. His face was a mask of thunderous rage, his veins throbbing, his voice booming through the chamber, shaking the very tapestries on the walls. He saw not a daughter, but a willful challenge to his authority, a blot on his honor. "Disobedient wretch! Ungrateful baggage! Answer me not, stare not, listen not, speak not!" His accusations rained down upon her, sharp as daggers. He had worked tirelessly to secure such a match, a prize for his only daughter, and she dared to spit upon his efforts. His reputation, his love. "Hang thee, young baggage! Disobedient wretch! Get thee to church a Thursday, or never after look me in the face! Speak not, reply not, do not answer me! My fingers itch!" Juliet, reduced to a weeping heap, pleaded for understanding, for mercy, for a delay. But her father was beyond reason, lost in the tempest of his own wounded pride and thwarted will. Lady Capulet, cold and unforgiving, merely echoed her husband's sentiments, wishing Juliet dead rather than disobedient. Even the nurse, ever the pragmatic one, advised her to forget Romeo, to embrace Paris, seeing no viable alternative, her loyalty to Juliet's happiness ultimately bowing to the weight of social reality. "Romeo is banished," she reasoned, her voice devoid of true empathy for Juliet's deeper plight. "He's a dishclout to him. I think it best you married with the county." Utterly alone, abandoned by her family, her confidante, and feeling the inexorable pull of a fate she could not accept, Juliet's desperation reached its zenith. She fled to Friar Laurence. her eyes wild with despair, her spirit broken but her will unbreakable. "Tell me not, friar, that thou hear saint of this, unless thou tell me how I may prevent it," she begged, drawing a dagger. "If in thy wisdom thou canst give no help, do thou but call my resolution wise, and with this dagger I'll dispatch it straight." The friar, seeing the deadly glint of steel and the fierce resolve in her eyes, knew he stood at the precipice. His previous interventions had only pushed them closer to the abyss. Now, a final, perilous gamble was all that remained, a plan born of desperation and the faint, flickering hope that perhaps, just perhaps, fate could be outwitted. He spoke of a sleeping potion, a draught so potent it would mimic death, buying her time, orchestrating a reunion. It was a plan born of desperation, fraught with unimaginable risks, a delicate thread woven over a chasm. Juliet seized upon it, a flicker of hope igniting in the darkness. The fear of waking in the tomb, surrounded by the rotting dead, was real, a chilling vision that made her blood run cold. But the fear of marrying Paris, of betraying Romeo, was far greater. She would brave the horrors of the grave rather than desecrate her vows, her love a shield against terror. With the vial clutched tightly in her hand, she returned to her parents, a picture of repentance and obedience. The facade was perfect, the deception complete. The wedding preparations resumed with joyful haste, unaware of the grim masquerade being enacted. Juliet, alone in her chamber, prepared not for a wedding, but for a journey into the semblance of death. The air grew heavy with anticipation, a chilling quiet before the storm. The point of no return had been crossed, the dice irrevocably cast. Verona, oblivious, hurried towards a morning that would break not with joy, but with the silence of irreversible tragedy. The air hung heavy over Verona, a shroud woven from whispers of doom and the impending chill of dawn. We find ourselves, dear listeners, at the very threshold of tragedy's final act, as Romeo, his heart a ravaged landscape, spurred on by the catastrophic misinformation of Balthasar, races back to the city that banished him. His mind, clouded by grief and a desperate resolve, envisions only one resting place, the tomb where his beloved Juliet, he believes, lies cold and lifeless. He arrives at the Capulet monument, a desolate edifice under the pallor of a nearing morning. With him the apothecary's potent draught, a swift release he intends to share with his love in the dark embrace of death. But fate, ever a cruel dramatist, has one more twist. Before he can enter, another figure emerges from the shadows, Paris, the noble count, who also mourns the presumed loss of his intended bride. Paris, believing Romeo to be a desecrator, challenges him. A duel, quick and fierce, born of misunderstanding and grief, ensues. Romeo, powered by a despairing strength, slays Paris, fulfilling yet another prophecy of violence in this blood-soaked tale. With a final, sorrowful gaze upon his fallen rival, Romeo carries Paris's body into the tomb, laying him beside Juliet, a grim tableau of intertwined destinies. And there she lies, Juliet, not truly dead, but caught in the deep slumber of Friar Laurence's potion, her beauty preserved, mocking Romeo's perception. He beholds her, a vision so vibrant, so lifelike, that it almost undoes him. "Ah, dear Juliet," he whispers, his voice thick with unutterable pain, "why art thou yet so fair? Shall I believe that unsubstantial death is amorous?" The irony, dear friends, cuts deeper than any dagger. Her warmth, her lingering blush are signs of life, not death, but his eyes, blinded by sorrow and haste, cannot discern the truth. He speaks of joining her, of finding his eternal rest where she rests, and with a kiss, a final, fervent testament to a love that scorned the world, he drinks the poison. His last breath escapes him, a sigh of release, as he collapses beside her, his hand reaching for hers. The world for Romeo has ended. It is but moments later, the silence in the tomb broken only by the frantic footsteps of Friar Laurence, who arrives, lantern in hand, too late. As he enters, Juliet stirs. The potion loosens its hold, and she awakens to the chilling reality of her surroundings. Her eyes flutter open, searching, then widening in horror as they fall upon Romeo's lifeless form. "Oh, comfortable friar!" she exclaims, her voice a desperate plea. "Where is my lord?" But the answer is written in the stillness of his face, the empty vial clutched in his hand. Her heart, which had endured so much, shatters. The friar, distraught, begs her to come away, to hide in a convent, to escape the watch he hears approaching. But Juliet, seeing Romeo's empty poison cup, knows her choice is made. Her life without him is no life at all. "Oh, churl, drunk all, and left no friendly drop to help me after," she laments, a bitter jest in the face of absolute despair. Then, her eyes catching the glint of his dagger, she seizes it. "Oh, happy dagger! This is thy sheath, there rust, and let me die." With a swift, terrible certainty, she plunges it into her own breast, falling upon Romeo's body, her last breath a whisper of his name. And so, the two brightest stars in Verona's firmament are extinguished, victims not just of fate, but of a hate-filled world and their own passionate impetuosity. The tomb doors burst open. The watch, drawn by the sound of conflict and the friar's agitated presence, discover the gruesome scene: three bodies, a friar consumed by guilt, and a page, Paris's servant, trembling with fear. The prince, the Capulets, and a heartbroken Lord Montague, who reveals Lady Montague has died of grief over Romeo's banishment, soon arrive, drawn by the clamor and the unfathomable horror. Friar Laurence, his face etched with unspeakable sorrow, steps forward, confessing his part in the grand, tragic design: the secret marriage, the potion, the letter that never reached Romeo. His confession is corroborated by Balthasar, Romeo's servant, and confirmed by a letter found on Romeo's person, detailing his purchase of the poison and his intent to die by Juliet's side. The weight of their children's deaths finally crushes the ancient feud. Lord Capulet, his voice broken, reaches out to Lord Montague, offering his hand, and promises a statue of pure gold to honor Romeo. Montague, in turn, pledges a similar tribute to Juliet. A piece, bought at the dearest price imaginable, descends upon Verona. But what a price, dear listeners! What a hollow lesson! The prince surveys the carnage, his voice heavy with righteous sorrow and self-reproach. "See what a scourge is laid upon your hate," he declares. "That heaven finds means to kill your joys with love. And I, for winking at your discords too, have lost a brace of kinsmen, all are punished. The city finds a temporary solace, a truce born of shared agony, but the joy is gone, replaced by a silence so profound it aches. Their love, beautiful and defiant, became the instrument of their destruction, a sacrifice on the altar of a generation's old hatred. They died not for love itself, but because love dared to bloom in a soil poisoned by enmity. And so, we leave Verona, not with triumph, but with tears, pondering the cruel irony that sometimes, even the purest love, in a world unwilling to embrace it, can be the most potent catalyst for death, leaving behind only grief and the chilling echo of what might have been. The sun, as the prince observes, for sorrow, will not show his head. For never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo. Friends, fellow travelers on life's winding road, gather close. Let us speak not of what asterisk was asterisk, for the echoes of lament are well known in fair Verona, but of what asterisk could be asterisk. For within the heart of every tragedy lies a whisper, a silent counsel urging different paths. Our journey today takes us not to the fated tomb, but to the precipice of choice, where destinies are forged and reformed by the delicate hand of wisdom. This is the Verona Accord, a 7-day plan for wiser choices, a pact we make with ourselves, guided by the very stars that once wept for our young lovers. Imagine, if you will, a different sunrise over the ancient city. Seek Day 1, the spark, the secret, and the pause de tresque, the masquerade ball. A kaleidoscope of silk and laughter, where two hearts, strangers to sorrow, found each other across a crowded room. Romeo, captivated, approaches Juliet. The first kiss, sweet as forbidden fruit. The revelation, Montagues and Capulets. Here is our first junction. Instead of immediate, fervent declarations of undying love, imagine a moment of shared, thoughtful silence. A whisper not of my life is my foe's debt, but of this feeling is potent. Let us proceed with eyes open, and perhaps with a trusted confidante. What if, instead of secrecy, Romeo had sought out Benvolio, not for solace in his melancholy for Rosaline, but for counsel on this newfound, dangerous passion? What if Juliet, instead of being swept away, had spoken to her nurse, not just of her ardor, but of the asterisk implications asterisk? The Accord's first principles: pause before you pledge. Consult before you commit. Dusk love, in its truest form, is not diminished by consideration, it is deepened. Hask Day 2, the balcony, the bond, and the boundaries. Dusk, the iconic balcony scene. Moonlight bathes the Capulet orchard as vows are exchanged with breathtaking speed. My bounty is as boundless as the sea, my love as deep, beautiful, yes, but also a torrent. Here, the Accord suggests a crucial modification. After the intoxicating rush of mutual discovery, what if Romeo and Juliet had mutually agreed upon an asterisk plan asterisk? A step-by-step approach that acknowledged the feud's reality. Imagine Juliet proposing, "Romeo, before we speak of marriage, let us first speak of peace. My love for you is immense, but it cannot exist in a vacuum of hatred. Can we not, with careful steps, approach those we trust to broker a truce, or at least to understand our bond. The Accord's second principle. Build a bridge before you burn your boats. Acknowledge external realities in matters of the heart. Their love was a force. What if they had channeled it to mend, rather than merely to defy? Stress Day 3. The blade, the blood, and the brotherhood, the scorching midday sun, the challenge from Tybalt, the tragic intervention of Mercutio. Here fate turned with brutal swiftness. Romeo, reeling from his secret marriage, tries to maintain peace, but his efforts are misinterpreted. Mercutio falls. Rage blinds Romeo. What if, after Mercutio's fatal wound, Romeo's grief had been tempered by a moment of profound, painful foresight? What if he had chosen to disengage, to seek justice through the prince, rather than vengeance with his own hand? The Accord's third principle asks grief demands space, but not destruction. Let justice, not immediate retribution, guide your hand. A moment of restraint, a plea for intervention, could have saved not only Tybalt's life but altered the trajectory of all. The sword, once drawn, is hard to sheath without consequence. Day 4. The banished, the burden, and the broader view. Romeo, exiled. Despair grips him, threatening suicide. Friar Laurence offers a stern lecture, urging gratitude. Meanwhile, Juliet suffers alone, her parents misinterpreting her sorrow. Lord Capulet, seeking to cheer her, presses the marriage to Paris. Here, the Accord nudges our protagonists towards a deeper understanding of their influence. What if Romeo, instead of succumbing to self-pity, had spent his banishment strategizing, sending letters, seeking allies in Mantua, formulating a long-term plan to reconcile the families? What if Juliet, sensing her parents' growing impatience, had found the courage to speak plainly, "Father, mother, I cannot marry Paris, for my heart is already given." Not in defiance, but in love that seeks to heal our house's wounds. The Accord's fourth principle as despair is a choice. Proactive planning is a powerful antidote. Communication, even when difficult, is the bedrock of understanding. Their individual sorrows deepened because they isolated themselves. Day 5. The pressure, the potion, and the peril of isolation. Juliet's parents demand her marriage to Paris. Desperate, she seeks the friar. His solution, the sleeping draft, a clever, yet inherently risky plan, born of urgency and a lack of alternative options due to previous secrecy. Here, the Accord highlights the dangers of limited counsel. What if Juliet, before agreeing to the friar's drastic plan, had sought a second opinion? From the nurse, perhaps, or even a trusted servant not bound by the family feud. Someone who might offer a simpler, less perilous solution. What if the friar himself had insisted on wider consultation, or on a more robust communication plan to Romeo? The Accord's fifth principle stress when cornered, seek multiple perspectives. Complex problems rarely have simple, singular solutions. Isolation breeds desperation, and desperation leads to rash actions. Day 6. The messenger, the misstep, and the missing link. Friar John fails to deliver the crucial letter to Romeo. Balthasar, seeing Juliet buried, rushes to Mantua with incomplete, catastrophic news. Romeo, believing Juliet truly dead, procures poison. This day illustrates the fragility of communication, especially when it's relied upon as a single point of failure. The Accord emphasizes preparation and redundancy. What if Friar Laurence had sent *2 messengers, by different routes, with identical, detailed letters? What if he had anticipated potential obstacles to communication, knowing the urgency? What if Balthasar, before rushing to Romeo, had sought confirmation from the friar, or from others who knew the truth? The Accord's sixth principle, anticipate obstacles in your plans. Robust communication requires redundancy and verification. A single broken link can unravel the strongest chain. Day 7. The tomb, the truth, and the too late arrival. Romeo arrives at the tomb, encountering Paris. Another fight, another death. Romeo drinks the poison. Juliet awakens, sees Romeo, and takes his dagger. The final heart-wrenching scene. Here the Accord asks us to consider the ultimate power of a single correct choice, or even just a timely arrival. What if Friar Laurence had arrived moments sooner? What if he had given Romeo even a brief, urgent explanation before Romeo could act? What if the collective sorrow of the families, after so much loss, had been able to break through the veil of misunderstanding just a hair's breadth earlier? The Accord's seventh principle: even in the darkest hour, a single wise action can avert catastrophe. Truth, delivered timely, is the most potent bomb. The path to wisdom is paved with these small, conscious decisions. And so, we conclude our journey through the Verona Accord. The tragedy of Romeo and Juliet is not merely a tale of star-crossed lovers, but a profound lesson in the cumulative power of choice or the lack thereof. Each day, each moment, offers an opportunity to pause, consult, plan, communicate, and verify. This 7-day plan is not a magic charm against sorrow, but a guiding light, reminding us that even the most passionate hearts can learn to choose wisely, turning potential tragedy into enduring peace. Let the echoes of Verona remind us the power to rewrite our own narratives lies, always, within the choices we make today. And so, we stand at the precipice, don't we? The dust has settled, the last heart-wrenching sob has faded from the air, and silence, heavy and profound, has fallen over Verona. The tomb, that cold, unforgiving maw, has swallowed its young lovers, Romeo and Juliet, along with the remnants of their fervent, star-crossed dream. But what does it leave us with, this ultimate sacrifice? What echoes persist in the stillness, whispering truths we do well to heed? For the tomb, you see, is not merely a resting place, it's a classroom, stark and unyielding, offering 3 profound lessons carved not into stone, but into the very fabric of human experience. Our first lesson, etched deepest into the hearts of the Capulets and Montagues, is the devastating, soul-sapping cost of hatred. Imagine, if you will, the ancestors of these two houses, perhaps squabbling over land, or a slight, or some long-forgotten transgression. What began as a spark, a minor disagreement, was carefully fanned over generations, nurtured by pride and paranoia, until it became a roaring inferno. This wasn't just a feud, it was a lineage, a birthright of bitterness. Children were born into it, raised to despise the other without question, without reason beyond they are Montagues or they are Capulets. We see it, don't we, in Tybalt's unbridled fury, in Mercutio's mocking challenges, in the casual violence that erupts in the market square. This isn't just about two families, it's a microcosm of all human conflict, where the us versus them mentality takes root. It teaches us that unresolved resentment doesn't simply fade, it festers, it poisons, and it demands tribute. And what a tribute it demanded here, the lives of the two people who dared to bridge that chasm with love. The tomb shows us that hatred, left unchecked, inevitably consumes not just its targets, but the very hearts that harbor it, and cruelly, often the innocent caught in its crossfire. It's a mirror reflecting how easily we can demonize, how quickly we forget the shared humanity beneath the banners of our divisions. Then, there's the second lesson, one that pulses with the fierce, intoxicating beat of young hearts, the double-edged sword of impulsive passion. Ah, Romeo and Juliet! So young, so fervent, so utterly consumed. Their love blossoms not just quickly, but explosively, a supernova in the darkened sky of their feuding families. From their first glance, their first touch, they are hurtled forward by an irresistible force, making life-altering decisions in a matter of hours, then days. Secret vows, clandestine marriages, desperate plans, all fueled by a love so intense, it brooks no delay, tolerates no obstacle. And who among us, in the blush of youth or even later, hasn't felt that dizzying pull of a powerful emotion? That conviction, that this feeling, this moment, is the absolute truth, the only truth. Shakespeare doesn't condemn their love, far from it. He paints it as pure, exhilarating, utterly beautiful, but he also reveals its perilous underside. This unbridled passion, though pure in intention, lacks the tempering wisdom of experience, the patience for prudent counsel. It makes them vulnerable to circumstance, to miscommunication, to the slightest tremor in their perfectly constructed, fragile world. Their love is a magnificent ship, but it sails without a compass through a storm of their own making, or at least, one they rushed headlong into. The lesson here is not to fear love, but to understand that even the purest passion, when divorced from patience, caution, and clear communication, can lead to devastating consequences. It's a powerful reminder that while the heart has its reasons, the head, too, has its wisdom, and true strength lies in their careful balance. And finally, perhaps the most poignant, most universally relevant lesson from that desolate tomb, the critical, often tragic, consequences of misconnections, misinterpreted intentions, and the desperate scramble to control fate. Think of Friar Laurence, well-meaning, perhaps a touch too clever for his own good. He devises a plan intricate and risky, yet born of a genuine desire to mend the rift and save his young charges. But fate, or perhaps simply human fallibility, has a cruel sense of humor. The letter, meant to enlighten Romeo, never reaches him. A chance encounter, a distraught servant, a hasty assumption, and suddenly, the carefully laid plan unravels into utter chaos. This isn't just a plot device, it's a profound statement on the fragility of human communication and the illusion of control. How many of our own tragedies, small or large, stem from a message unheard, a word misunderstood, an assumption made in haste? It highlights the perilous dance between destiny and agency. Was it fate that doomed them, or a series of human errors, each building upon the last? The tomb whispers that while we strive to shape our destinies, the unforeseen, the tiny threads of mischance, can weave a very different tapestry. It emphasizes the importance of clarity, of listening, of seeking full understanding before action. It also subtly critiques the adults in the play, the parents blinded by their feud, the prince slow to intervene, the friar perhaps too quick to meddle for their collective failures to guide, to protect, to truly understand the young lives entrusted to them. So, as we close this chapter, let us not simply mourn Romeo and Juliet. Let us learn from them. Let the echoes from that tomb remind us, beware the insidious poison of inherited hatred, understand the powerful, yet delicate nature of passionate love, and above all, strive for clarity, understanding, and wisdom in a world prone to mischance. For in these lessons, etched by tragedy, lies the enduring power of their story, guiding us still, centuries later, to navigate the complexities of our own human hearts and the turbulent world around us. And so, we arrive at the threshold, not of another act in the tragic play, but of a different kind of stage altogether, the one we inhabit, the one where stories truly come alive, or, regrettably, fade into dusty footnotes. We've journeyed through the sun-drenched streets of Verona, felt the giddy rush of forbidden love, tasted the bitter ash of ancient feuds, and wept beside two young souls lost to a world that refused to bend. But to close the book now, to simply sigh and place it back on the shelf, would be to miss the most profound act of all. It would be to let their conversation die. You see, a story, especially one as potent and timeless as Romeo and Juliet isn't meant to be a static artifact encased in amber. It's a living, breathing entity, constantly shifting and evolving with each mind it touches, each heart it stirs. It's a conversation that began centuries ago, and one that demands our continued participation if it is to retain its vibrancy, its raw power to challenge and illuminate. Think for a moment about the silence that descends upon the Capulet vault, just before Juliet awakens. If only Romeo had waited. If only the friar's letter had arrived. If only Paris hadn't intervened. If only it's a litany of missed connections, of words unspoken, of vital information tragically undelivered. Their love, for all its intensity, was ultimately crushed by a failure to communicate, a community's stubborn refusal to bridge its divides, and the fatal consequences of acting on incomplete narratives. And isn't that, in essence, a reflection of our own lives? How many tragedies, small and large, unfold because we fail to truly listen, because we judge too quickly, because we let pride or prejudice erect insurmountable walls between us? Shakespeare, in his infinite wisdom, didn't just write a love story, he crafted a masterclass in the human condition, an enduring mirror reflecting our own capacity for both breathtaking beauty and devastating folly. So, what does it mean to keep the conversation alive? It means more than just reciting lines or debating literary devices. It means inviting the spirit of Verona into our contemporary world, allowing its echoes to inform our present dilemmas. It means looking at the street, brawls between Montagues and Capulets, and seeing the divisive rhetoric that tears at the fabric of our own societies today. It means witnessing the rash decisions of Romeo and Juliet and pondering the impulsivity that social media often fosters. It means feeling the profound despair of the parents and asking ourselves how we might better guide, understand, and protect the young people in our lives. To keep the conversation alive is to ask the uncomfortable questions. Why does this story still resonate so deeply across cultures and generations? What does it tell us about the nature of love in an age of swipe-right romance? Does fate truly dictate our paths, or are we, like the star-crossed lovers, ultimately authors of our own undoing, however unwitting? When we encounter a new adaptation, a modern film, a ballet, a graphic novel, we are not merely consuming entertainment. We are engaging in this ongoing dialogue, seeing new facets of the diamond, understanding how its light refracts through different lenses. Each new interpretation is a fresh voice added to the chorus, a testament to the play's enduring adaptability and relevance. Consider the simple act of discussing it with a friend over coffee. You might argue about who bears the most blame: the feuding families, the well-meaning but flawed friar, the hot-headed Tybalt, or even the lovers themselves for their youthful impetuosity. In that very exchange, the story breathes again. It's pulled from the pages and placed squarely into the vibrant, messy reality of your shared human experience. Your perspectives, your lived wisdom, your unique understanding of love and loss, all infuse the narrative with new meaning. The story is no longer just Shakespeare's, it becomes yours, a part of your own ongoing dialogue with the world. This is the true call to action. It's an invitation to lean in, not just to listen to the echoes of the past, but to actively contribute to the ongoing narrative. It's about recognizing that the story of Romeo and Juliet isn't a museum piece. It's a living text that continues to challenge, to provoke, to inspire. It asks us to look beyond the elegant poetry and see the urgent, often painful truths about ourselves and the societies we build. So, when you next encounter these immortal words, whether on a page, on a stage, or in the quiet chambers of your own mind, remember that you are not just an audience member. You are a participant. You are a conversationalist. What will you bring to the dialogue? What questions will you ask? What insights will you share? How will you keep the conversation alive, ensuring that the passion, the peril, and the profound lessons of Verona continue to echo, loudly and clearly, for generations to come? The story's future, in a very real sense, now rests with us. Let the dialogue continue.